Hello and welcome back to the Small Print Podcast with your host Elise, and I blog at roulettereader.wordpress.com.
I'm Dawn and I blog at bangbangbookblog.com.
And today we bring to you our second installment of our Harry Potter reread, so we're going to discuss The Chamber of Secrets. Let's talk about, first of all, the differences between the movie and the book. There weren't a lot, but there were some that I missed. For example, I really wanted to see the scene where the Weasleys have to denome the garden. I thought that was hilarious, and of course it's not in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Let's see.
The Borgin and Burke scene is also different. In the book, Harry is sent through the fireplace via flue powder, and then he ends up in Borgin and Burke's and sees Lucius and Malfoy. Were they selling something, or were they offering for this guy to come get it?
That's the difference.
Okay.
It's a small difference.
It is a small difference.
So in the book, he's asking the guy to come to his house, but in the movie, he
brings the objects with him.
Yeah.
And the whole point of this is obviously because Mr. Weasley is doing these raids where they're like looking for certain stuff, and he doesn't want to be caught with the stuff at his house. So that's a large revelation in terms of story development. And then last one that I had was that the movie doesn't tell us that Filch is a squib, which I feel like is relatively important information.
It is and it isn't. I've read the books through once. I don't remember if the squib comes up again. I don't know.
It explains a lot of his attitude towards the students.
Yeah, it does.
That's what it did for me. It kind of, like, he's got to work in this environment where he sees people surpass him who are years and years and years and years younger than him. That's kind of frustrating, so you can understand his really crappy attitude towards the kids. So I thought that would have been, like, great character development for the movie, even though I know he's not really, a major character or anything, but at least we get that in the book. That's what matters.
The other big difference I noticed was at the very end, Lucius, he's being confronted by Harry, and Harry frees his elf, and he just like lunges at Harry. But in the movie, he's about to do the killing curse.
Oh yeah,
that's a huge difference.
Huge difference.
So it really makes Lucius out to be a
really
horrible person.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be redeemed after that, I don't think. Like, you're about to kill a little kid because he lost your elf for you.
Right.
Like, no.
Yeah, well, speaking of Dobby, I have made it known today that I'll probably get, like, hate tweets from this, but I do not like Dobby. I find his character extraordinarily annoying, even more so in the movie. In the movie, I wanted to reach my hand through the screen, grab his little scrawny neck, and choke him to death. Like, I just hate him.
Why?
I can't explain it other than it's just this visceral feeling that I feel. I cannot be alone in the world in this. But I know that he has, like, a really integral part to the story, and that's the only reason I tolerated him, but I just don't like his character. He's annoying. I don't like him.
I mean, in the Chamber of Secrets, he is really making Harry's life difficult. Mm-hmm. He does have a reason for it. He knows.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
He is, like you said, he is an integral character because he saves Harry a lot in the series. But, I mean...
I just found him difficult to read. Like, how he constantly has to hurt himself after everything he says. And it's like, again, I understand why, I understand what the point of his character was. I just don't enjoy reading that.
Okay.
That's I can only explain it that much. I just found him very uncomfortable to read. But yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Let's go back to the beginning a little bit further. Well, actually around the same part in the book, but Aunt Madge, that scene in the book shocked me. Like, I thought the Dursleys were evil in the first book, but then she comes over and is talking crap about Harry's parents and, like, using profanity without really using profanity against them, and pretty much really provoking Harry was so heartbreaking. Like, just putting yourself in Harry's place, and again, the book really goes there. The movie kind of edits it down a little bit so it's more palatable, but it was still, yikes, who the heck is this woman?
Yeah, she's, sometimes I wonder what JK had to go through as a child to make her her youth characters are just have such horrible lives.
Issues. Mm-hmm.
even in the new in the Ilvermorny backstory, like that poor girl that ended up founding Ilvermorny, she went through hell too. It's like she really just wants kids to go through hell, and she has something against little kids. I don't know.
I mean, Hermione is the only one that we know of that has an actual... I mean, Ron has a stable home, but it's made known again and again that Ron's family is impoverished. You know, they struggle with money and having what they need and things like that. But they do have, like, a loving family, and so does Hermione. But Neville seems to come from a broken family as well, which obviously we know his parents are dead.
His parents aren't dead.
Oh, wait.
They're in the loony bin.
Oh, sorry. I take that back. But he lives with his grandma. She's not very nice to him. He's not in a good way at home. Like, when... Like, his grandma was obviously one of his worst fears, because in the next book, she comes out of the... Well, her clothes comes out of the thing. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. So, another thing that bothered me... Well, I did not really love Chamber of Secrets. I kind of gave it a 3.75. It was good, but definitely not my favorite thus far.
You said because Hermione's not in it.
Yes, thank you. And I hate it because Hermione is absent for a majority of the book, despite... Even though she really helped them along in finding the Chamber of Secrets, I didn't like that her presence wasn't there. I didn't feel like this book was particularly fond of women in general, because women are stupid as hell in this book. You got Ginny, who's just being crazy, and then Moaning Myrtle, who's, like, the typical hysterical female, or stereotypical hysterical female. I was like, what is happening? That bothered me.
Yeah, I can see why. I didn't think about that. I think, well, I rationalized it as, you know, they can't always rely on Hermione. And so this was their time to solve it kind of on their own. So I wasn't too upset that Hermione was missing through a lot of the book. But that's the only... You can't always rely on Hermione. Harry's got to do something on his own.
But she still gives them a serious leg up.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Like, give credit where credit's due. Let's see. I mean, if we want to skip ahead, do you have anything else around, like, early to the middle of the book?
Well, I was just going to talk about, because I mentioned this in our Sorcerer's Stone podcast, how Rowling strategically places objects or themes or whatever in a previous book, and in the next book they become important. So in this one, they run into the Whomping Willow, which becomes a very big character in Azkaban. But she does a lot of foreshadowing. So I noticed when I went back and watched the movies in the first book, when they have to do their detention in the forest, Malfoy says there are werewolves in there. Like, that's the one bad thing he picks out, is the werewolf. In this book, we have the Polyjuice Potion that is really important. It comes
later in the books,
several times later. And then, I'll say this last thing later, but yeah, just like her world building and her foreshadowing for the readers, what's going to happen in the subsequent books.
Yeah, I agree that the world building in this book is really strong. We, obviously... It being the second book, we see more of Hogwarts. The Chamber of Secrets was a really cool aspect to this book, too, that this thing even existed, despite the fact that many, many wizards who have looked for it weren't able to find it. We finally get to see it. I thought that was really cool. And the whole Tom Riddle's diary thing was really unique and original to me. I loved that, like, when you wrote on it, his words came back, and he would answer your questions, and that was really cool. That was one of my favorite aspects of this book, and I like, of course, that we get to see a lot more deeper history behind who Voldemort is, especially leading up to book 4, when we kind of first begin to actually meet Voldemort, other than him being a parasite or a ghost of a ghost or whatever. So it's like you said, with her kind of foreshadowing a little bit. I was really shocked by the reveal of Hagrid and why he was expelled from Hogwarts. That was sad.
Yeah. And I just think that all of them, that they knew the villain when they were a child, and now he's grown to be this huge influence on their life. in Hogwarts, Hagrid knew him when he was a teenager.
Right.
And Dumbledore, too.
Yeah. I have this note here, I don't know why, but it says, "Why does the flying car go feral?" I thought that was hilarious. How this car that is in the beginning of the book is like, screw you guys, and heads off to the forest, and then, like, becomes one with the forest. That's hilarious to me. Like,
Do
why?
we know why?
We don't know why.
Was it charmed
not
by
explained.
Dobby or anything? Because
have no
Dobby did
idea.
a lot to prevent them
I don't
from
know.
getting to
I don't
Hogwarts.
know.
I don't
That's a
think
good
it was.
question.
No, because they were using the car in the beginning. I don't...
And the car comes back to help them,
Mm-hmm.
but then it immediately goes right back to the forest. I just found that,
I don't know if
thought that
that's
was like a really
explained.
comical
Yeah.
aspect to this book, but I didn't see an explanation. If anyone can correct us, that'd be great.
I didn't think about the Ford Anglia.
Yeah.
We
I
don't
know.
have Ford Anglias in America.
No, we do not. Fox versus the Basilisk was a really cool scene too. Just that he shows up. Was he sent by Dumbledore, or did he just, like, know something was wrong and go?
I believe he was sent by Dumbledore because they tried to go and warn Dumbledore, but somebody told Dumbledore to go to the Ministry to kind of, like, get Dumbledore out of the way, and then I believe Dumbledore may have sent Fox to help him.
Again, that's what I don't get. Like, these kids are, how old? 12 at this
Yeah.
point? I mean, really. Dumbledore is how old? 90?
No,
87?
He's like 150.
Okay, he's really freaking old. I was expecting, oh no, he's 60. Oh, okay, I was way off, sorry. But really, Dumbledore kind of, how do I say this? He obviously knows what the heck is going on in that school.
Oh, yeah.
So why is he not there? Why does he not show up for Harry?
Somebody duped him and told him to go.
He is not stupid.
Well, he got
Because
somebody
he
good.
says in the book, he's like, I knew I shouldn't have gone. I'm like, dude.
Well, that's her only way
That's
of
a
getting
plot
rid
hole for
of
me.
Dumbledore. It's not a very strong way.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. So
I
that
agree.
kind of bugged me a little bit. Like, one of your students is about to face A, a basilisk, and B, Voldemort.
Well, he didn't know that at the time.
Oh, you
He
think
didn't
so?
know that the Chamber of Secrets, that they found the Chamber of Secrets. He was gone by then
He knew
when
something.
they discovered.
I don't know. Dumbledore does do his best to prepare students for whatever might happen, I will say that. But I don't know. Something is missing there for me. But yeah, the reason that he leaves is just weak.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of threw me off. But I like the scene. You know, Fox swoops in and blinds the basilisk, and Harry's able to be saved.
Yeah. I like Rowling's use of a snake as her villain, which has got a lot of biblical connotations to it, and I'm sure that was on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Nagini is his snake, and Parselmouth, he speaks. There's a snake on the Slytherin crest, and so she chooses that to be, Voldemort has the nose of a snake. He kind of has, in the book he has red eyes, not in the movie. But yeah, she chooses a snake to be the villain, which is, and I also have kind of seen Harry as kind of a Jesus character, and Dumbledore as a God-like character. And an example is Dumbledore always says, always ask. If you ask, you know, I'm always here. I can't remember what he says, but when he sees them through the cloak, he can see through Harry's cloak. I think he charmed it, so he can see Harry.
Mm-hmm.
In his cloak, he said, questions or answers will always be given to those who ask, and that's kind of a quote that if you call my name, I'll be there. That's kind of a biblical quote that God says if you call my name. So you can kind of see how she's made Dumbledore, and Harry's always like, I believe in Dumbledore. We believe in Dumbledore.
Right.
We fight for Dumbledore.
Right.
Like, you fight for God, and everybody sacrifices himself for Harry, like everyone sacrifices himself for Jesus, and so it's got a lot of biblical things going on.
Yeah, there's definitely a bridge between those two stories, which I've always found odd about Christians and having issues with this book.
Yeah,
and
if they would just read it, you could see.
Right. But that's a diatribe.
I think the only other thing that I had was, and this is just more about her world building, is every book there's a new way of travel. So first it was just, you have the broom, and now you have the flu powder.
Well, even the Hogwarts Express,
Yeah.
you know, it's their own, like, special train.
Yeah. And then as the books progress, we get to apparate and
What's the way of traveling in the? Oh well, I guess you could.
The flu powder.
No, in Azkaban, the Marauders map. I guess that could be considered.
In Azkaban, I don't think they
I'm not
travel.
sure we get a new one.
No, we don't. I think I'm
other than like through secret passageways, like
yeah.
the Whomping Willow and. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I didn't notice that.
But yeah, Chamber of Secrets is my second to least favorite movie. Wait. I have an order.
Okay.
Order of the Phoenix is my least favorite movie and book because of all the death. And I hate Umbridge. And Chamber of Secrets is right up there. But I have to say that reading it a second time, and I was really looking forward to seeing the movie, I hate the movie. So anytime they have like Harry Potter Weekend on ABC Family, I always skip Chamber of Secrets because I hate that one. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed it the second time around, I will say. I do like at the end when we didn't talk about the petrification of the kids.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how what are those things called? The plants.
Oh, the mandrakes, yeah.
The mandrakes, how humorous it is that they're going through puberty now and they're almost ready. They're going through puberty.
Yeah.
At the very end in the movie when Hermione is like unpetrified and she sees them in the Great Hall and she runs and hugs them. I was like, oh, it's so sweet. They're such good friends. I love that scene.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have no more for Chamber of Secrets.
I do not.
All right, so join us next time when we will be discussing The Prisoner of Azkaban.